On. Once again, it's the real, to jump off. I'm your host, Walter Damager.
And I'm Rob Cooper, the Jetta. What's going on, family?
What's going on? We letting everybody know we're back again on an all-in platform, all in politics. And brother, we got a very interesting show for everybody tonight, and I will usher it to you to usher us in.
Absolutely. We have Keith Arthur Bolden, who's been with a longtime friend of mine. I believe, Keith, we go back maybe 20 years ago. I met this young, very talented faculty member at my alma mater, Lock Haven University. And from the minute that I met him, full disclosure, happened to be one of my frat brothers, an achievement in all fields of human endeavor, Kappa Alpha Psi.
Oh,
I knew he would be up in the mountains too long. He was going to be moving and shaking and with your ambition, you really have done some big things in the entertainment business, and now you are and also as well as academia. Now you're the professor of a professor right now at Spelman University down in Atlanta, Georgia. Who, by the way, I think you shared with me a famous actor came out of there, out of that school. What's his name? Samuel L. Jackson.
accent.
How did that? Now Spelman's a women's school, so how did that work out?
Well, it's not a well kept secret. It's not even a secret. Um, but Morehouse doesn't have a theater department, and in
Okay.
our consortium of what used to be four schools, now three, with Clark Atlanta University, Morehouse College, and Spelman College. Um, Students are able to take classes at different campuses. However, there are a few programs, theater being one of them, the Morehouse men have to come over to take all of their classes at Spelman because
Right.
theater is not offered at Morehouse. So they get the degree from Morehouse, but they actually get their training at Spelman.
Oh wow, wow, that's an
Right now,
interesting.
ironically, I have more men in the program than I do
Oh,
women.
interesting, interesting,
We
interesting.
got to fix that. We got to
And
fix that.
yeah, yes, sir. Now, how long have you been at Spelman? And let's just talk about your academia background. Working in faculty, as I mentioned, you were at Lock Haven. How long have you been in the industry and developing, young students?
Well, I started teaching when I was in graduate school in the University of Illinois, in Champaign, Urbana, and I started teaching in '99. So we had to teach for our graduate assistantship. We had to teach a class a semester,
Mhm.
and then from there, in 2002, I accepted the job at Lock Haven. I stayed there till '04. Moved to New York. Well, officially moved to New York. But my wife and I, we were dating at the time. We moved into our New York apartment a week before I got the offer. When we signed our lease, a week before I got the offer to teach at Lock Haven. So we did a long distance thing for a couple of years. And then after left New York, went to LA, taught it as an adjunct at Cal State LA. And then I always applied for jobs, and I ultimately got an offer for teaching job at Spelman in Atlanta. And we just were thinking about the opportunity. We didn't know we knew Atlanta had a theater scene, but
Mhm.
we didn't know it had this film industry uh, uh, scene that it had here. So when we moved here, we were just moving like, okay, we're just gonna start a new life. We're gonna buy a house, have some greenery around us, and maybe transition into developing ourselves as artistic leaders instead of solely entertainers or actors. So, but Atlanta's been the best move so far.
You know,
Um,
it's interesting you talk about, Atlanta. I know probably going back maybe 20 to 30 years ago, Atlanta was big in the music industry. We knew about LaFace and some of the other big record companies
Made
down,
Dupree.
down there. But what I didn't know is, how big of a film industry was down Atlanta. So tell me about that. I mean, because first thing everyone thinks about is Hollywood right away. You think everything is filmed in Hollywood, you know.
And everything is named after Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood. Now we're the Hollywood South. Um, you know, People think it happened overnight, man, but really, it started really in the '70s, man. When Jimmy Carter was governor, he started putting infrastructure here and tax credits here for shows to start shooting here.
Yeah.
So that you have shows like In the Heat of the Night. So those shows kind of planted the groundwork for an industry. So people come, they start filming, they start leaving stuff behind, equipment and stuff like that. So now it's easier for people to pick up production. And then, of course, now with the building of major studios, and I will say Tyler Perry was probably the first major
Right.
person to usher that in, and he was doing it for years. So it's a right to work state, so you don't really have to deal with unions. Um, uh, but now they have to in terms of SAG and stuff. But there were a few loopholes you could get through at the beginning of it, and people saw that Tyler Perry was able to make some money,
Right.
and so of course Hollywood followed. And when we moved here, it was right at kind of the bubble. Things were just starting to pop, and I mean, I would audition. How do I say? I would book more than I would even audition in LA.
Wow.
Just didn't. I wasn't. I was in my late 30s, moving back to LA, and I think casting directors have a hard time looking at your resume full of stuff, but they don't know you, they don't recognize you. I was doing theater for so long,
Right.
and then using this medium is so much more different than theater, and so I didn't get enough runs at it to really be good at it in auditioning. So when I moved to Spelman, or Atlanta, the first thing my wife and I did, I don't know how we got hooked up with this woman who hired us to teach an on-camera class. Now, Tanashi had taken an on-camera class, my wife, but we didn't really have a lot of experience. So
Right.
you fake it, you fake it.
Right. Right.
But I will say that I learned more by teaching in that class, and that kind of propelled me for the auditions I was going to have with my new Atlanta agent. And so when I would book, I invested in equipment, so everything looked good, and so my auditions just stood out more than other people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you have more talented people moving here now, so now it's getting a little more competitive. But my wife and I kind of made names for ourselves, so people know, oh, this Keith can do this or Sasha can do that, So it's just been slowing down because of COVID.
Right. Right. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. How COVID is affecting the industry overall, both on the screen and stage. Walt, bring in Walt Burrow, my partner.
Yeah, I was just very intrigued by that extensive background he just gave. Um, but theater, as you just stated now, is a very integral part now because a lot of people is stay at home. What is your ideas as far as the gravity of what's taking place around theater and right now, and more people like acting that may be out of work or whatever else? What is your take on the projected move and push in the theatrical field?
I realize that I'm in myself and my wife are in blessed positions to where we're still working at our respective jobs.
Mm-hmm.
If this goes on more than a year, then we probably be talking differently. Um, but I can't imagine the pressure that these artists are going through. We deal with rejection every day, doubt every day, maybe living paycheck to paycheck, maybe on government assistance, on unemployment, you know. But we always have the hope and the drive for the audition, because the audition is the hope that gets us into the door for a job that will give us more weeks for our insurance, or secure us 4 or 5 months of rent. But now the possibility doesn't even exist because I'm not even auditioning because jobs just don't exist. These production companies are still making money on residuals because people are watching more television now, right? Hamilton was released 4 or 5 months early to Disney Plus. I think the plan was to release it in theaters, but they know more people are at home watching TV. You actually have a captive audience now. Hamilton is a good deal because those actors worked out a deal where they get residuals on any money that's made from the production that they recorded. That's not the same for theater actors. People are trying to stay active. They're trying to find ways to make money. They're doing virtual readings for free just to keep the mind sharp.
Right. Right.
There's some commercials that are shooting. My wife and I auditioned for a commercial. It's running now. It's a Mercedes commercial.
Okay.
They're
Congratulations.
I know I didn't book it. No, we didn't book it.
Okay.
But it was the hope of the job.
Yes, right.
And
Okay.
the job was taken away. But no, it was. But this couple buying a car virtually using Zoom with the sales agent at Mercedes deal. So these people they're trying to figure out how they can employ actors and keep new content coming in fresh into the home. But it's really, it's not like they can go wait tables
Right,
because,
right, right.
we really got to try to figure this. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Chicken's coming home to roost. That's all I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah, we really as a country could have handled this situation a lot better too. The banks and the airlines and everybody can get bailouts, and the citizens should be able to get bailouts because the money
right.
comes from the citizens in the
That's
first
right.
place.
That's
Just
right.
giving it back to them so they can survive. They don't have to worry. They don't have to because it's gonna come to a point, man, where people go. If you get hungry enough, you're gonna start breaking in homes. You're
Right.
gonna start breaking businesses because I gotta eat. I gotta feed my people. Yeah, we're not turning dark. Sorry.
No. That's exactly what we talk about. I mean, when we look at this, and you just kind of look back from January to now, we've seen $7 trillion that was supposed to be kind of like pandemic money. But to your point, that $7 trillion is falling in whose pockets? It definitely is not, falling into the pockets of the 327 million Americans here who, I don't care what position you are right now, who are struggling. And then you throw on, places
How
like
many, how many Americans?
actors,
How many Americans is it? How many Americans?
300, about 327 million,
That's all we have in America. 327
exactly. About 327, about 330 million.
trillion dollars.
$7 trillion. So that averages about $1 trillion per month.
So you could have given every citizen $1 million.
Exactly. Exactly. You and I see
The
eye
economy
to
would have
eye.
been cool.
Exactly.
You would have been spending it back.
That's right.
Exactly.
So,
But instead, you invested in companies in hopes and
right.
tricks.
Exactly. Exactly. So what kind of sense does that? What kind of sense does that make? And and really, what we could have done, and I'm not just saying this. This is what scientists have said. I know they're anxiously awaiting a
Vaccine.
vaccine, but the other countries like New Zealand has zero cases, and what they essentially did was smother the virus through social distancing. And had we did what we were supposed to do back in February or March when it was a hoax, we would be back to normal. Maybe we may be wearing a mask or two here or there, but we would have been back to work, and the economy would have been open, and we would have been on the road to recovery. But I guess when folks are, getting those type of numbers, $7 trillion a year, they weren't too quick to, put those dollars down and keep those dollars from flowing into their pockets. So it was like,
We
virus be damned,
incentivize
virus be damned.
incentivize the wrong thing. If you incentivize people, if you give them $100 a month to carpool, they'll carpool more, right?
Right,
You try to incentivize people to do things,
right.
and I feel like um, this country could have made it a contest.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right. That's
you
right.
know, we're gonna give you these masks. And hey, whoever has the most hours of mask clock gets $1,000,
That's right.
something like that, as
Right.
opposed to no, it's a hoax. It'll go away when it gets hot.
That's right. That's right. And now and so now we're here, and we see,
And
and the picture that you just gave, Keith, when you look at the actors, and this is one of the, I'm so glad that you're able to join us, because people look on Netflix, and they look at, they even maybe even go to Broadway, and you see the glamour, the glitz and the glamour of acting, but they don't realize it. And you even put, even the backup plan is taken away, the waiting tables, they wait tables to go, get a audition, they get a shot, boom, they're in, and they're good. But the way this pandemic was managed, there's essentially is very little avenues out. And, we just hope that, this thing can get better so that, our whole community, you know what I mean? Our frontline workers, our entertainers, our athletes, folks can get back to, you know, earning dollars, becoming consumers, and putting money back into the economy. But right now, what we have, to me, it looks like a money grab, and no one is really concerned
Yeah, because
about the
yeah,
consumers.
everything's boils down to money. If you listen to our commander in chief,
Hmm.
every time he resorts to something, it's always, well, the
That's
money.
right.
Somebody says something bad about him, sue him. It
That's
all comes down to money, and money clearly cannot solve all problems. But that's what he runs on.
that's
He
right.
doesn't run on the humanity of people.
Hmm.
And it's really sad. And the sad. Well, I think there are great things that coming out of this. I think that people are able to call BS when they see it. Now, I think that people have more agency to call it out.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it's a yin and a yang. I think that we are ultra aware and ultra sensitive to things, and we have a cancel culture. And I think we we can't cancel everybody out.
That's right.
Uh, some people have to atone and make good on the atrocities that they've given to people. So we have to leave room for that forgiveness, which is one of the things in Hamilton, right? You can
That's
bring
right.
it back.
That's right. That's right.
Things in Hamilton is forgiveness. And what do we get? And people are so afraid of what they're going to lose if they give in to the pandemic or the rules of the pandemic or this social uprising that we're having now. If they're so worried about what they're going to lose, they don't even think about what they gain,
That's right.
right? These corporations, these white American theaters, you actually gain an entirely new audience because your old white audience is dying.
That's right.
Your old
That's
money in
right.
this country is dying. There's more new
Mhm.
money in this country than old money. So when those people start dying off, those generations start dying off, and you have to look at what you're gonna gain.
That's right.
You gain me. I'm the
That's
coolest person on the planet.
right.
Mm.
And keep speaking of the quarantine time of the pandemic, obviously I, like most Americans, we did a lot of binge watching, and I ran across and I think I talked to Walt about this. When I found the show, I was so busy, so I didn't have a chance to watch anything on Netflix over the last 3 years. But I found a very interesting show that you happen to be played a part in, called Containment. and,
Well,
and and it was real interesting. I was watching the movie, and it really talks about a pandemic, breaking out in a major city, major metropolitan area, and you actually played a part of a frontline worker. So
I
tell me a
did.
little bit about that. I know you guys probably recorded it. You can tell the audience when you recorded it, and just talk about that, and seeing your work from a few years ago, and seeing it today, and how prophetic it was.
Yeah, man, sometimes TV can be ahead of its time. You think of the Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock, Containment, shows that aren't right for the time. Some shows are given a chance to live and breathe. Well, more in the past, if Seinfeld were to premiere today, Seinfeld wouldn't make it because they gave Seinfeld had actually 3 years to find an audience, and it's one of the most successful shows in history. Um, but Containment was given it didn't get renewed after this first season, which I'm bummed about because I was hoping to come back. But I did do the pilot episode, and a lot of people found it during the pandemic. It had a resurgence. I was getting a lot of text messages because my character says, "I'm not dying for this." It gets into a confrontation with a citizen, and I'm a nurse, and she says she's just coming from the infected area. I'm like, whoa, and I say 6 feet, back up 6 feet. It's a real thing. The writer went to the CDC, and this is a real thing. 6 feet is a real thing. And then she starts walking closer, and I just throw my bag and say, hey, I'm not dying for this. So that was fun to shoot. It took a while. It's amazing how long it takes to shoot stuff sometimes. But yeah, I think it's a little prolific to be involved in something that's happening. that's current. Also, I was in the series Underground, the second season of Underground, and while it was in the past, because of the themes that the show brought up and the music they used, it seemed current. So this is much different to watch Containment now and see. Wow, wait a minute, our mayor just said the same thing. What's going on? So, but artists, artists are the windows to society. If treated properly, if people get out of their heads, you can. Most people see what they want to see. But if you look at the temperament of music around you, and you watch the things that are on TV and on television, especially on the news, what the news leads with is what we are infected with. I'm going off on a tangent quickly. Sorry. So I'm a big movie. Is that cool? Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just thought about containment and pandemics and being infected. I don't know if you remember this movie, 28 Days Later, the British
Right.
film with the thing at the beginning of it, the monkeys were infected, right? The monkeys were going crazy. They were just upset. And the animal activists came in to free them, doing their God-given service. And then they said, the monkeys are infected. They're infected. And they said, what are they infected with? And the guy said, rage. And that haunts me, right? That the fact that we can be, as animals, as people, so infected with rage that we can't control our own thoughts and desires, our carnal, our carnal. What's the word I'm trying to use? Come on, Ron, you went to school.
Desires.
Our primitive desires, carnal desires. Thanks, Walt. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Anyway, tangent.
Well, me and Rob had multiple discussions behind the scenes in regards to how theater plays out. And as you said, some things are prophetic, some art imitates life. One of the things that I had asked Rob, and I believe it had to do with adaptations. And what I mean by that is, from book form to written form to acting it out, condensing all content into material that's digestible by the public. Like, how does that transpire? Like, how does that fit into the role of a director's view versus uh, the person that's trying to get you to understand what they're bringing to the stage or the arena? Like, how does that play a big part? Because in some aspects, there may be some things that's left out that some people may feel as though it's more important that you find in a book than as opposed to like just having it all act out and place and play.
That's a good question. You know, plays most plays, I will say 99% of plays go through a developmental stage. They're developed probably more than any other medium you can think of. Um, some plays never reach full production because they just get stuck in the development phase. Hamilton was developed for over 7 years, right? Um, Going through different workshops, having different artists attached to it. When I say it, I'm talking about most plays and most,
Right,
especially
right.
most musicals. But the creator, who is typically the writer and maybe the star, they bring in a collaborator or director they want to work with that will help flesh out the story. August Wilson had Lloyd Richards, right? Lloyd Richards would serve really kind of as August Wilson's director and dramaturg. He would tell August what was too heavy and what was needing to be cut. So once you find this kinship with this person and you find success in it, you stick with that person. Usually, that's how those collaborations are born. Um, am I answering your question? I want to make sure I'm on the right track.
Yeah, you definitely are. Like I said, some people get caught up in the allure, like everything just runs together fluidly. Like there's no breakdown or there's no uh how can I say it? Like there's no space to give any leeway, whereas though one idea isn't entrenched into the other. Like it's like
Yeah.
fluid.
Mhm.
So I said Hamilton was developed for 7 years, right? So we took students to see it from Spelman in 2016, wherever that was. And we also had a book club. So we had to read the biography, Alex Chernow's biography, and we had meetings before. It's an 800-page biography. I haven't read a book that long in a very long time. But reading it, there was no way in my head that I could look at this source material and say, yeah, hip hop musical. I can get with that,
Right.
right? Or the story of an immigrant, even. Because even reading it, I'm like, these are all white folks.
Right.
Right.
But not really, right? Creole, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you couldn't put everything. You couldn't put everything on the stage.
Hmm.
And I guarantee you that Len probably has more pages on the floor than it does in the book. You
Wow.
know, it's just from ideas that songs that didn't make it. Just the songs that didn't make it. Right. So you pick the best 30 songs and we got a musical. But he probably has maybe 25 more great songs. But now it has to now you start talking about money. And
Mhm.
how long can you ask an audience to sit through something like this?
Right.
Right. So you have to give and take it. Then hopefully, especially in the world of film, hopefully there's a sequel. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
we can
Right.
everything to our film, so we can tell more of this origin story, or we can go back to the beginnings in a later version.
You know,
Think Saw. Think
it's
the movie Saw.
it is interesting. Walt and I had pre this discussion we're having today. I'm reading the biography right now, and in the biography talks a little bit about Alexander Hamilton's possible mulatto background. With folks who don't know what the meaning mulatto is, means that he may have some of us in him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that the play did not really touch too much into that, but you got the kind of like the soulful flair of what's going on and bringing kind of history to the audience today, and how in our language, I guess, so that we can understand and comprehend it
Mhm.
on that. But about Hamilton, what was it about this play? I mean, people, during the heyday of it, people were paying $750 to about $1,000, or maybe to $1,500 to get tickets to this thing. And I've been to a couple Broadway musicals. I've never had to pay that much to get in.
Let's call it what it really is, man. The phenom.
Yeah, let's
I
Yeah.
mean,
talk
let's
about
call
it.
it what it is. This is a
Yeah,
once in a lifetime occurrence, man, and it came at the right time.
yeah,
People
yeah.
working out their money, and I myself, I think I paid $250 when I went and taught the second time. First time the school provided the ticket, and I had never paid that much for a ticket, but that's how much I wanted to see it again. I had already seen it. Like I'm good. I can see something else tonight.
Right.
I really wanted. I said I have to see this thing again because I probably won't be able to see it again. I think it's one of those musicals, man. That's a musical of a generation. I think it's interesting that I tell people all the time when I saw it, like it's the best history lesson on this country I've ever had.
Right.
You know,
Right.
understanding the birth of the government. Are the characters flawed? Yes, but every character should be flawed. So, so now we're talking about as now that it's getting out to the masses. Now, much like with Gone with the Wind on HBO Max, now we have to talk about context.
Right.
We have to talk about the good, the amazing thing that these men did. The amazing thing to leave your country, leave your home, go someplace else, and say we're gonna stand up to the biggest military might in the world, and we got 13 colonies. The bravado of that, right? But the reason they could do that is because they had these slaves.
Right, exactly. And I'm glad that Lynn Miranda was able to put that um, in the play. To talk about the slaves on, I think, two or three occasions.
Yes, and
She
people
brought
get
up
upset because it wasn't more, but that's what I'm saying. You can't fit everything into the
everything in it. That's right.
what
That's right.
story you're going to tell. But that's his own story.
Mhm.
That's his own story.
That's
The
right.
story that he wanted to tell is the story of an immigrant, which
Right.
is a more important, a more impactful story for our country.
That's
Is a
right.
story of an immigrant who could come here and do these things. He's the only one that was never president. So he was definitely shut out because of some mulatto Creole
Hmm.
stuff. Because
Right.
everybody else was elected and ran for president, was president, were able to be jerks to everybody. But here he is, arguably the smartest one,
Right.
especially with words,
Mm-hmm.
but was shut out because of his honesty and what at the time was integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, I know we got about 6 minutes left, but I'd be
That's it.
remiss if I'd be remiss if I, I want to get your insights on my favorite actor, and probably because it's the Philly bias in me, Leslie Odom Jr. As Burr.
Yeah,
Give me your critique on him.
Leslie's the beast, man. Uh, Leslie, I saw Leslie the first time. Uh, he hadn't he hadn't too long at Carnegie Mellon, and he was in LA living, and he did a stage reading of a play called Neighbors by Brandon Jacobs Jenkins as a play performed in blackface, and he was in that, and I thought he was phenomenal. And so the theater ended up producing that show, and Leslie couldn't do it because he had just joined the cast of Smash. He had moved to New York. But I was in that show. I mean, I was hoping he would have been in it too because he's just that talented. So I'm a fan, and I've been a fan since then. That was 2000, I don't know, 11 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
2000. He's a phenomenal talent, man. I donated to his first album.
So did
Before he was
I.
this big Tony Award winning actor,
Yes, sir.
My wife won a Princess Grace Award last year. We got to see him there because he's a Princess Grace Award winner too. So.
That's great, man. We can talk about Hamilton. I think I told you before. I'm a Hamilton nerd for everyone out there who knows.
Hamiltonian.
I'm a Broadway nerd. I normally try to make that part of my bucket list to get up there at least once a year
I love
to
that,
catch all
man.
the show, man. I love the Lion King, the Aladdin, all the whole Disney series. So
If
it's
you
Well, when this
ever
Corona let up, we can get back out there. You know.
yes, sir, yes,
if you
sir,
ever need some like recommendation, you want to see some good stuff, you
yes,
want to make
sir.
sure it's good and thought provocative, hit me up. Nah,
I certainly
Oh,
will.
definitely. While we got you on here, if you have like a site or some type of information you want to give to our audience, so that way they can reach out and get some more
real
information from you, it'd be greatly appreciated as well.
real easy. KeithArthurBolden.com or Bolden Clan with the K. .com, BoldenClan.com, or KeithArthurBolden.com. And that's the best way to contact me. And
Yeah,
I'm on all social media, and I typically respond to things and people. So
cool.
I'm pretty active politically. So if you ain't on the side, if you ain't on the right side of history, you probably don't want to reach out to me. But I don't alienate.
That's right.
I do converse. So
That's right. And that's the important thing, man. Well, Keith, again, man, we want to thank you for joining us. Hopefully the acting and the entertainment industry will respond, and I'm sure they will. We got some very talented people that work in this industry, man, and will respond and kind of bring it back home after this COVID-19 is all over. But we really appreciate your time and energy,
yeah,
and keep up the great work. And most importantly, keep developing those kids.
yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah. And plus, we definitely love to have you back.
Thank you. Anytime. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Later.
Definitely. So that's another episode of Real to Real to Jump Off on the All In podcast. Keep us in weekly. We come in on Thursday, but we blast off on Friday. Once again, it's been another great episode, and we love to see you guys again. I'm your host, Walter Damager.
And Rob Cooper the Jetta. Good night, family.
Good night.